What's up, y'all? Welcome back. Welcome back. Let's get into this C.S. Lewis trilogy. Let's get it.
Favorite reader, that's who you are. Traveling near, traveling far. Through every chapter, you're the star. Favorite reader, that's who you are.
Okay, as you can see by the title, I've been meaning to get through this trilogy by C.S. Lewis for a few years now, actually. And the time has come. The time has come. I'm in the mood for it. What better time than when you're in a mood for something, okay? Okay, first I'm gonna read you the synopsis on the back, and then I'll give you an idea of what I understand this trilogy to be. C.S. Lewis's classic Space Trilogy was written immediately before and during World War II as an impassioned response to civilization in jeopardy. All three volumes focus on the adventures of an unlikely hero, Dr. Elwin Ransom, a mild-mannered philologist modeled after Lewis's friend and colleague J.R.R. Tolkien. In Out of the Silent Planet, Lewis takes the reader on a hazardous journey to the lush and fanciful Melanchthra, also known as Mars. Kidnapped by two space-hopping colleagues, Ransom must confront the Bent Ones, evil beings who would ransack the world's resources for their own foul ends. In Perilandra, where those same enemies wage war on the planet, which is also known as Venus, Ransom joins his old Melanchthrian compatriots in a fight to ensure the inhabitants of Perilandra remain as spiritually pure as their surroundings. And in the final book, That Hideous Strength combines classic elements of Gothic and dystopian tales, underground passages, fascist conspirators, bizarre scientific experiments, and a psychic who sees a future in nightmarish dreams. Here, Ransom must battle his old interplanetary foes in order to save his home planet, Earth. Okay, so you heard that from the back of the book. What I understand is to be is C.S. Lewis's only science fiction book, I believe. It is dystopian, it is sci-fi, and it has a lot of parallels to like Christian faith and theology. I don't know how much, I don't know how overt, but yeah. I also know that though I have referred to this for years as the Space Trilogy, C.S. Lewis did not like it referred to as a Space Trilogy. He liked it referred to as the Ransom Series. C.S. Lewis thought the Space Trilogy sounded very cold, distant, standoffish, and that's not the aim of this series. So yeah, I've had this for a few years. Why I'm deciding to read it now? I'm in the mood for it. And I want to document what my thoughts are as soon as I finish it. So the way that this video will be set up is I will read a book. There's three in here. I'll read one, come back, discuss my thoughts. Read the next one, come back, discuss my thoughts. Read the next one, come back, discuss my thoughts, and then wrap up the whole thing. That is my plan. That's my plan. How many pages in the whole thing? This entire trilogy has 724 pages. I'm just gonna jump right in. Let's get it. First book is down. First book is complete. I finished Out of the Silent Planet, and I have some thoughts. Okay, first of all, this book gets straight to it. It gets straight to the action. It's like a little tiny introduction setup, and we jumping straight into the action. I appreciate that. This book, the first one was 158 pages, and I truly feel like it could have been 2 or 3 times longer. Like, I have so many questions, and I wanted like so much more explored. Good thing there's 2 other books. But okay, let me just kind of tell you how we start off. The main character, his name is Ransom, and he is a loner. You know, he's walking the world. He's on a walking quest. Okay, nobody looking for him. Nobody know where he at. He's just wandering. He stumbles upon something that he shouldn't have been a part of. Okay, it leads to them going to, let me make sure. It leads to them going to another planet with other life forms on this planet. You get a good sense, not a great, because I still feel like there's just so much more I wanted to know. But you get a good sense of the other lives that's on this planet, how the different species are set up on this planet. And it just raises a lot of questions about life outside of Earth and our bubble and our knowledge. One thing that this book does, it did a good job at bringing into my awareness that when I think about life outside of Earth, it is very much limited. It's with my limited understanding and perspective. And I don't even know what I don't know. So like there was times where the main character, Dr. Ransom, he didn't, like when he was thinking about getting to this planet, or when he was thinking about what was on the planet, he wasn't, it's like stuff that he totally left out. Like he didn't even think about or consider. And I feel like as a human, I would do the same thing, because how would you even know to think of something that you just have no idea what it is? And it's just so interesting. I did mention in the first video, or the first part of the video, that this is like, it has Christian themes. They were in this, it wasn't super, super heavy handed, but you did kind of see like, like the occurrence of faith. You got to see like other life forms and what people believed in, almost. Yeah, and it gave a good sense of a human being going to another planet with other life forms and species, and still the questions you ask are still based on your limited human experience. Like Dr. Ransom, at some point he was just asking questions, trying to understand the life around him. Eventually he started getting to learn their language and stuff. And there are 3 basically different groups of beings, and everybody has their own place on this earth. Everybody, like they're all different, but they all work together and coexist, and not in a way that Ransom really understands coming from Earth with the human perspective. So he's asking questions like, trying to figure out who the leader is. Like, who's ruling this? Who's governing this? Like, whose law are we following here? And they're like, like, that's such a limited view to think about. So he's like, in his head, when they're teaching him about different beings and different things, he's like putting them in a hierarchy. Like, oh, okay, so these are the most intelligent beings. These are the academics. These are the such and such. They rule over these other people, whether they know it or not. And it's just interesting to see how this all plays out. Eventually, Ransom has to get to a point where he almost runs into, or gets forced into, his fate or destiny, because if it was up to him, he wouldn't go meet this final being that he was kind of nervous and scared to meet. Because again, he was like any human, you have this fear. It doesn't rule you, but it does guide a lot of what you do, because you want to stay alive, So he has to deal with that. He understands why he's on this planet to start with. And the book ends with them going back to Earth, okay? But it's a cliffhanger, because something else is coming. That there's another part, and I want to jump right in. I'm ready for the next book. I've heard, could be wrong, but I've talked to several people about this trilogy over 5, 6, 7, 8 years, and almost everybody said that book 2 is their favorite. We're gonna see, because I'm about to jump right in. Yeah, that's Perilandra. Yeah. I'm excited. I wish book 1 was longer, but I'm not complaining too much, because I got 2 other books to finish. So yeah, finish Out of the Silent Planet. I'm about to jump right into Perilandra. I got questions. Oh, and another thing, this book ended, book one, like I said, it was a cliffhanger, but it was a little twist at the end that I appreciated because the whole time I was wondering like who the narrator was while the book was being told. I'm like, oh, it's a third person point of view, but who is this? Like, what's going on? And you kind of just get to see like who the narrator is, why this story is being told in the way it is, as an interesting perspective. I can't wait to see where we're going to book two. I can't wait. So the next time you'll see me, it'll be after I read the second book, Perry Langer, in the Ransom series by C.S. Lewis. There's no good place to clip this on. Hold on. This like the worst spot. Anyways, that's where it is. I'm back. I'm back. I have finished the second book of the Ransom series, otherwise known as the Space Trilogy by C.S. Lewis. The second book is called Paralandra. And I got some thoughts. I got some thoughts. Okay, so I did enjoy book one, Out of the Silent Planet. I did. I enjoyed Perry Langer a little bit more. I did. I feel like, remember earlier when I said that I feel like book one could have been twice as long? Like, it was just so much I wanted to know that it only got like touched on when I wanted it to go deep. This gave me what I wanted from a second book. Okay, so let's go back. So you still got the same main characters. You have Dr. Ransom, who has been summoned, almost commissioned, to go to another planet, and he has very limited information. So in the first one, he went to the planet, but it wasn't by choice. He went to a planet, wasn't by choice, Melicandra. Then in this book, he chose to go there because he was asked, commissioned, solicited to go to this planet, but he has very limited information. Okay, he is on a mission with limited information, but he is going to do it. So he then asked somebody else who was the narrator of this book to help him and then wait for him to come back. Okay, he gets to this planet, Paralandra. He gets there, and he's looking. Okay, remember, he don't know why he's there, so he's there trying to figure out why he's there. He doesn't really know the mission, but he knows, like, inherently that somehow he has to save this planet. Don't know how. He doesn't even know why he's chosen. He assumes it's because he knows the language well, like this universal language. Anyways, he gets there and meets a feminine thing. It's not a person, but it's like, it's for the sense of this book, it is a person. We're gonna call it that. She ends up being a queen of this world, okay, of this planet. He's like, take me to the other people. She said, what other people? It's only one other person. He was like, no, the other people. She said, it's just one more. That was the king. So you have the queen, Tenedril is her name, and then you have the king, Tor. These are representatives of Adam and Eve. Okay. You kind of like you don't get that right off the bat, but you get it once Eve or Tenedril is starting to be tempted by the enemy. The enemy is almost comes in the same package as the enemy in book one, but this time he's overtaken by evil. Okay. This is the real enemy. This is Satan himself taking over a body. Okay. So you get full blown temptation. The enemy is trying to tempt the queen of this planet. Sorry. The enemy is trying to tempt the queen of this planet. He is trying to cause fatigue, because how many of us know that when we're fatigued, we don't make good decisions? He's trying to do that with Ransom and the queen. He's trying to flip the words that she was told by the God, or the Christ-like, God-like person, God-like figure of this book. He's trying to flip those words. Same thing that, the serpent did. He's trying to flip the words like, but, is that what he really said? Is that what that meant? Maybe it meant this. And flooding her, trying to flood the queen with vanity, temptation again, the allurement of wisdom and knowledge. She think wisdom, but and just like knowing more. It's so tempting. It's so desirable. And so you get to see like this entire battle being fought, both literally, figuratively, and literally. Ransom literally fights the enemy. You get to see that. And it's so many good things in this book. For one, it starts off with the narrator showing his skepticism in a lot of ways, showing his distrust in a lot of ways, his unsureness in a lot of ways, which I think a lot of people can relate to, especially if somebody comes to you and says, look, I was on this other planet. XYZ happened. Take notes. I was on this planet. And you like, well, like you saying a lot of bizarre stuff. So it had that element in it. Then you have the conversation of total commitment on both ends. So the enemy and Ransom, who is fighting for good. You have total commitment on both sides. The conversation around ethics, around morality. It's got your quintessential good versus evil battle in all senses of the phrase. Really good conversation about the origin of sin and trying to like conceptualize that in this book, in this plot line. It was very interesting how it all went together. You got to still see a very descriptive, creative world that he built in this second book. Just like, it was so good. I was immersed. And then I was thinking about like, how much stuff do we seek at the expense of our own selves? Like, we go against, people can, not everybody doesn't do this all the time, but there's been times where people can go against what they very well know to be true. They know this because they're seeking something. Desire, vanity, a good feeling, advancement, like something, and that's captured really well in this book. The idea of free will versus fate and predestination, it was just all wrapped up in this ball that I feel like a lot of people can relate to. Okay, you don't have to be a Christian to be able to relate to this. If you are a Christian, I feel like you really, really will relate to this because there's just so many parallels in your life as a person who's trying to do the right thing and living in a world full of a whole lot of stuff that's not good for you. So that's beautifully described here. You get a good sense of the slippery slope of sin, how it can start off with a little thing and then it snowballs. It snowballs into something huge. Yeah, and then the ending of the book, I feel like it had a pretty satisfying ending too. You can tell there's another book coming. It wasn't like everything was resolved, which is cool because I still got another book. Everything was not resolved, but for this part of the book, I feel satisfied. I like book 1. I like book 2 a little bit better. I'm interested to see what book 3 has, but yeah, that's where I'm at right now. Another thing I want to touch on before I leave this segment is there's good examples in this book of how Ransom, the main character, overestimated the enemy at times and underestimated him at times. Like, and I think that's also a lesson in there for human beings too. Like, sometimes we want to blame every single thing on like the enemy, every single thing. And we think like he has this immense power and control over every single thing that we do. We almost feel defeated before we even begin, like we're fighting a losing battle that we can't win. And when it comes down to it and it plays out, you're the one that loses in that situation. But then there are other times where you feel like you're in control of this. You're stepping your foot or your toe into something and it's not so bad. It's not too far gone that you've lost control or completely have been overtaken. But before you know it, because you've underestimated the power of temptation and greed and lust and vanity and this and that, you wrapped up in something and you don't even know how you got there. Like you just in it. And now you're like, dang, I really underestimated this entire situation. So I think it's good to kind of see both. He did a good job at showing both sides of that, which I thought was really good. My favorite part outside of the theological discussions is the imagery. It's so strong. You get a good sense of what's happening where. You get vivid descriptions. I really, really appreciate that. And yeah, I got one book left. I'm ready. This looks like it most definitely is the longest book. Let's see, it's about the length of both of the first two books combined. So I'm assuming there's going to be some heavy hitting conclusions. They're going to be tying up loose ends, wrapping this stuff up. I'm ready. I'm ready. So yeah, that's it for this segment. The next time you see me, I'll be wrapping up the last book in the series, which is That Hideous Strength. So yeah, I'm about to jump into it, y'all. Here we go. I'm back. I'm back. And I'm finished with book 3, That Hideous Strength. This is the Ransom Series, otherwise known as the Space Trilogy by C.S. Lewis. And I just finished book 3 called That Hideous Strength. I enjoyed this series. Okay, let me talk about book 3 and then I'll talk about everything all together. So, this book literally felt like it was not a part of this series at first. The way it started off, I was like, I feel like this is a totally like different book. Like this is a standalone book. That's kind of how it started off. This book takes place on Earth, unlike like for the whole time, unlike the first two books, and pretty much takes place on college campuses in small towns. And it just felt like totally different. Like the whole vibe of the book was different at first. It did like merge into it, but the whole time I'm reading it, I'm trying to figure out how the first two books play into this book. So that's kind of like what my reading experience was. It starts off with Jane and Mark, a newly married couple. And Jane is having dreams. She's having dreams and she's like, why am I dreaming this stuff? Come to find out, her dreams are reality. She's a seer and she's seeing the reality. Mark he works at a college. He works at a university and he gets mixed up into some sinister stuff. Okay. We talking about secret organizations. We talking about hidden agendas. We talking about masking what you really doing from the public. We talking about taking over. We talking about all of that. And he gets tied up into it. But the way that it happens, kind of like I mentioned with book 2, is it's a slippery slope. He start compromising here and there. He start like he's not feeling confident or not feeling comfortable in what he's doing at first. And he just keep on going instead of pulling out before he was in too deep. And then he got to a point where he was in there. He was knee deep in there. You don't get introduced to Ransom, who was the main character in the first two books, until like much later in the book, and you kind of see how Ransom gets introduced and plays into this storyline. Classic good versus evil, just like I said with book 2. This book really brought into light like what it looks like to truly be scouted and recruited, and like you don't know it, unbeknownst to you, you're unaware, but somebody got their eye on you and your spouse, and you have no idea why, and you just gullible in the whole thing. And it also brought into view, even when you think you understand like the full situation that you're in, you fully understand what's going on, you still don't really know what's going on. And so it made it very clear, like even when people knew what was going on, they had the inside knowledge of what's going on. At a certain level, you don't know. It's very few people that understand the true inner workings of certain things. And that was pretty well defined in this book. I did really appreciate that. I appreciated the aspect where they brought in like propaganda and how to shift public perception, how things and your choice of words can change how somebody feels about something, how one way is acceptable and one way is not, even though they mean the same thing. You kind of got to play the game to understand what you need to say to get people to nod their head and say yes to it. Same thing that you're trying to accomplish, but how are you going to take advantage of these people's ignorance and acceptance to do what you want to do, pretty much. The book also brought into light, because this is the only time that we really truly follow a married couple. You really do get to see what marriage looks like for Jane and Mark. They talk about marriage roles. They talking about her not being happy. They talking about everything that has to do with her feeling like she lost a part of herself for this and him feeling like this. And you really get to see that like on paper. I thought it was pretty cool, especially because this book is so old. It talks about equality. It talks about equity. It doesn't use the word equity, but pretty much it talks about it. It talks about standards and what's expected, managing expectations, and not in a way that I just made that sound. Not like you should accept less, but understanding that you're expecting something and where did that expectation come from? You know, so it's pretty interesting stuff. This book was ultimately a good representation of bad people, evil entities, whatever it is, seeking, desiring, trying to get and accomplish immortality. That's what this is about. And you get to see it from so many different angles. It has so many characters in this book. Again, unlike the first two, this third book has so many characters in it for you to like latch on to, for you to explore. And they were all super defined, very developed. It was a good book. It was a good book. So now let me talk about, in the conclusion of the book, I did like the way that the entire series ended. I'm satisfied. Glad I read it. Yeah, I'm glad I finally got this out the way. This was a good book. Okay, this is something I could see like my kid reading when he gets a little bit older. My oldest son reading. This is something I feel like he would like. Not now, but when he gets to like true teenage years, I feel like he would like something like this. But yeah, it was good. Now let me give an overall of these series. Which book was I'm gonna rank the books. That book, it's hard to rank it because I feel like book 3 was not, it seems so different from book 1 and 2. I liked book 1 a lot, but I like book 2 more than I like book 1. Book 3, it still to me feels like it's kind of like outside of this. I'm going to put I'm gonna do 3, 2, 3, 1. I like book 2, Paralandra, the most. Then that Hideous Strength and the Silent Planet, I like them equally. So it's gonna be like a triangle. I like that. I like Paralandra the most, that Hideous Strength, and Out the Silent Planet. Book 1 and 3 on the same level to me, and then book 2 is slightly above it. So yeah. It was good. I don't read many books like, so yeah, this I don't read many sci-fi books. I like sci-fi. I don't love sci-fi, but I did enjoy this. Honestly, every time I've read a sci-fi book, I've had a good time. Like I liked it. So yeah, anyways, good book. Glad I read it. I've had this for a while. I've wanted to read this series for a while. It was the right time. I enjoyed this. Let me know what y'all think if you read it. Do you want to read it? And if you read it, which book was your favorite? Let me know. Okay, y'all. Let's see you on the next one.
favorite reader.